happen, because you can't really make that connection. But it does make sense that if kids are getting more to eat and are coming to school less anxious, they're going to pay more attention and everything is better. All the schools that we had this year, every darn one of them wants the program back. So we didn't have anybody say, no big deal.
I have a question,
yes.
and again, it's an information question. But how do you handle this, since not everybody's getting the backpacks, so that the children aren't sticking out to other children?
That is a very good question, but I only had 2 minutes.
That's all right, I'm asking.
I know, and here I'm the last one.
Yeah.
So we provide the teachers during the training time a number of options for how they can distribute the backpack to the child in a way that maintains the child's dignity.
Right.
They usually opt for one of two things. We have a nutrition club, and just a couple of weeks ago we finished a curriculum for the nutrition club that we're going to be providing to all the schools. If they don't want it, they don't have to use it. And the kids get assigned to a club. It's usually done by the school nurse or maybe the school counselor, and they have activities where they learn about what foods to eat and maybe best practices for washing their hands or how to grow up to be big and strong. And during that time, where they have they play a lot of games, that's when they get their backpack. They put it in their backpack. It's like a little Marsh plastic bag tied so that they can get into it when they need to. And what we have found is that kids that aren't in it want to be in it. They want to be in the nutrition club. Another great thing that's happened is that kids that are in the club will come to the teacher and say, I think Jason needs to be in this. I think Jason's always hungry. And another great aspect to it that, again, all these things just kind of happened as the program has unfolded over time, is that in any type of a government program or a program that has some type of a board over it, you have to go through some red tape or some steps to get things going. But with backsacks, we transport this stuff to all over the state at our own expense. They get cases of these backsacks. And we always give them too many on purpose, so that if a child comes into the classroom, and you all are familiar with this, particularly in the northern part of Hamilton County, I'm sure, and somewhat in Home Place, where families just arrive. They just arrive in the school system, and they'll enroll their kids, but they don't have time to get into whatever the support network is right there in the county or the township. So they're struggling to make ends meet. They're just trying to pay the rent. They may not have a car. The last thing they're thinking about is going to the grocery store. The child comes to school showing all these signs, and the teacher can immediately, without calling gleaners, without filling out any forms, put that kid on the backpack program. So at least one child in that family is going to go home. If the child asks for extra bags for brother and sister back home, we don't ask questions. We let the teachers handle that. It's the school's situation. It's not Gleaner's situation. The schools know best. What do these kids need? And if siblings need that, even though they're not part of what we're saying, let them have it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Anything else? Okay, thank you for having me.
Everyone have a chance to speak? I'd like to tell you what the process is. There will be a total of all of this. When the township applies for the funding, we add everything in a pot, and then we have to, and Doug, you might explain it better than I do. I'm giving a very basic overview. But then once the money's in there, then we have to cut it down to what we are able to give. Normally we give out $200,000 a year. We may change that amount, but it has to be applied for when we send the grants in, and we don't give information out tonight about whether you're in or out or what amount or whatever. That comes later on. Doug, would you like to add more?
Yeah, basically what will happen now is when I put together the budget for 2013, we will set aside a certain amount, and it has been $200,000 the last few years. I will say tonight we're hitting around $300,000 is what we've hit. It's strictly up to the board. They go through this at our meeting in September when we have our budget hearing, and they will decide on the amount that each organization will get. I normally will say, okay, we can afford $200,000, $250,000, $300,000, whatever we can afford after we do our other budgeting. It's up to the board, and you can come to that meeting on the budget hearing. They will go through each organization and make that decision at that time. And it's September 18th. If you're interested in coming to the board meeting, that's when we get our budget hearing. And then, of course, the approval is October, and they will adopt the budget for 2013 in October. It goes on to the state, and if the state likes what they see and, you know, everything, then we will get a budget order at the beginning of next year. Usually, we've got to have it by February the 15th, then you will know. But normally, we give out the checks in January or February. So, I mean, I kind of got a system set up that, you know, you used to not give it out until summer, I think, when Judy was here, and we changed this, and we got a lot more, better organized, and it wasn't me. Doc Dillon was big in this, and he had me hopping to organize this the way we've got it, and so you will know pretty much by September, October, when the board makes a decision. I've never seen the state cut our budget. I've never seen that. So the board's always done a good job from that standpoint. And then, like I say, you'll get your check in January or February.
And the whole thing is that we, you saw me writing, we're also going to each take everything you've given us. So anybody who hasn't brought something, please be sure it gets in our hands. And we really care about every group that comes, but sometimes one group is more needy than another, and we have to take that in consideration. We each make our own decisions, and then we together make a decision, higher, lower, or whatever the criteria is that we come up with. And then the grants will be announced, and that happens in the fall. But we'll be reading these over, and, you know, if we have any questions, we'll certainly give you a call.
And that's one good thing about coming to this. You know, they can ask you the question right here and now. They don't have to wait, and they may not ever get the answer they need, and they could cut you from that, or just say, okay, well, they weren't here, they weren't interested, so we're not going to give them anything. I mean, you know, that's kind of the way it works. But it is the board that makes those decisions.
All right. Well, we thank you very much for being here. We have a few more things to do, and then we'll call it a night. Are there any financial questions that you have tonight?
I don't.
Based on our budgets?
No.
No. I don't have any tonight either. Board